As the film opens, we see a lot of beautiful shots of the Dolomite mountain ranges as climbers climb the mountains. We then meet two girls who are packing for their climb up the next morning. Kelly and Sophie are two friends who are vacationing and plan on climbing the mountain sheer side, which is 10,000 feet high. Before we continue, please subscribe to my channel so that you be updated on every viral story. Kelly takes off her locket and we see her reflecting on the time she and her late boyfriend climbed a mountain. She then puts the locket away in the bag right when four rowdy men arrive outside in a jeep and make a lot of noise, gaining the girls' attention. One of the guys, Josh, notices Sophie, and they seem interested in each other. A while later, the man knocks on their door. He introduces himself and tries a cheesy pickup line on Sophie. Josh also invites the two of them to a party for drinks and other activities. Sophie refuses after Kelly says no. We then move to Josh's friends. Zach says the locals told him that they are the only ones who are going to climb since it's already iced up there. They also talk about how it's wrong for Josh to be picking up girls even though he's engaged. Josh then approaches them and starts to make lewd jokes, which tailor off. Here we can see that Josh doesn't seem like a great friend and is very aggressive inside the cabin. Sophie convinces Kelly that they go have a drink with the guys and promises that they'll return on time. After being asked several times, Kelly eventually agrees to join them. As the sun sets, we see the girl sitting with the guys around a fire. Sophie is the talkative one and has no problem teasing Josh and the others, while Kelly sits quietly and sips her drink. Sophie teases Josh for his huge watch, and he tells her that it is a Ritmo Mundo Quantum Elite with a personalized locator beacon anywhere he is in the world. All he has to do is push a button and a group of ninjas will drop in. Sophie also tells the guys that she and Kelly are planning on conquering the Antelope, to which Taylor says that they also plan on climbing the same mountain. But they're all shocked to hear when Sophie says they're planning on climbing sheer after all this. Kelly gets up to go to bed, but Josh suddenly grabs Kelly's arm and tries to make her stay. Kelly doesn't like that one bit and Josh lets go of her. When the other guys chime in after Kelly leaves, Josh suggests that they all climb the face with the girls tomorrow. Sophie then laughs in Josh's face, saying that they won't have the balls to climb the face and would rather take the easy route to get to the top. Back at her cabin, Kelly turns on a handheld camera and watches a video that she had made of a guy named Luca, her boyfriend. They talk about how this is his 5th time climbing the Antelope with Kelly, who will be doing it for the first time. We also see a flashback of Kelly and Sophie in a rock climbing gym where she and Luca first met in the present. Kelly sheds a few tears before going to sleep. Back outside, Sophie has had a lot to drink and is making out with Josh. She gets up to relieve herself and Josh's friends try to tell him to cool it off, reminding him of his fiancée Amy. But Josh says he is not going to sleep with just a single woman for the next 40 years and goes after Sophie. As Sophie is about to walk back, Josh shows up and tries to kiss her. Sophie tells him to back off, but he starts to force her, letting out his anger at being mocked earlier on. Josh's friends hear Sophie screaming while Sophie manages to scratch Josh's face. One of them rushes to the spot and tackles Josh, getting him off of Sophie. She runs away while the guys come after her to talk to her and reason with her to not press any charges or such. But the chase takes on a dangerous turn when the guys catch up to her and Josh pushes her over the edge. Sophie falls down, cracking her spine on a rock below, but she's still alive. Meanwhile, Kelly wakes up when she hears noises outside. She goes to find Sophie and finds the campfire abandoned. The guys now surround a pleading Sophie and decide what to do. Ray is about to call 911, but Josh tells him no one will believe that it was an accident. Because there is a scratch on Josh's face, bite marks on Zach's hand, and there will be skin under her fingernails. Josh manipulates his friends into that. They need to kill her, otherwise, their lives would be over. He then grabs a big rock and smashes Sophie's head. Josh then hands the rock to Zach and urges him to hit the dead girl. He even grabs Ray's hands and covers them with Sophie's blood so that every one of them is equally involved in the crime. After that, Josh suggests that they clean her nails and throw her further down, making it look like she was high and trying to climb. While all this is going on, Kelly had come into view of the guys. She had sensed danger and had turned on the handheld. Unfortunately, Kelly unconsciously lets out a scream, alerting the guys to her presence. Josh sees that she has a camera, and they all run after her. Come on, come on. She runs and hides in the forest while the guys split up to find her. Kelly then manages to run to her cabin, running into Ray, who doesn't stop her. She grabs her climbing gear and makes for the face of Antelau, hoping to get away from the guys as they're not experienced climbers like her. As she begins to climb, the guys catch up to her and Taylor climbs up after her. He isn't as fast as Kelly, but he manages to catch up to her a few times, but she hits him with her foot. Ultimately, he loses his footing and falls, breaking his leg. His tibia sticks out in a gruesome sight, and he screams in pain. Josh is livid and screams at Kelly that he's coming after her. The guys take their injured friend to their cabin and Josh feeds him a handful of painkillers. Instead of rushing him to the emergency, he tells him to call for help if they're not back in 24 hours. Josh is completely focused on retrieving the camera, which consists of evidence declaring them as murderers plus. He doesn't care about who gets hurt in the process. As the three guys get ready to climb after Kelly, Kelly opens her bag to see what equipment she is on hand, which isn't very much. Her ropes had fallen when Taylor was trying to get to her, and she isn't wearing the proper gear either. But for her, it's the fight of her life, and Kelly isn't going to give up. Blow her. The guys find Kelly's phone, which is lying on the ground, having fallen out when Kelly started climbing. Josh keeps the phone and then tells his friend to keep preparing while he rushes to the cabin to take his left gloves. Ray and Zach begin talking, with Ray being guilty about everything they're doing. Zach then reveals that they have been friends since the 3rd grade, and that they've done something bad to a bully who picked on Ray. So he tells Ray to shut up and stick to the plan. When Josh doesn't return, Zach goes after him. He finds Josh coming out in a hurry and berates him for not waiting for him. Then they go back to start climbing and begin to pursue Kelly. As she continues climbing, Kelly keeps herself focused and calm, using Luca, her boyfriend's words as motivation to keep going. She remembers him telling her that climbing is just like chess, where she should focus on her mind rather than her muscles. So she takes his advice and takes out a map to check her route. Before continuing here, we learn that the men aren't far behind as they have better supplies and gear. Meanwhile, Kelly faces further troubles in the face of a snake that creeps over her hand. She breaks out a sweat but doesn't move or panic until the snake is gone. In fact, her hands aren't covered with gloves and the climbing has started taking a toll on her. She then stops to have a drink of water, but unfortunately, her bottle falls down below. Josh sees this and mocks her by drinking water from his own bottle. He continues to taunt her by sending himself a request from her social media account and using her phone to put up false statuses in her name. Kelly tries her best to ignore the jerk and powders her hands to continue climbing. She then finds a rope that will help her jump to a higher handhold, but she's unable to reach it. Kelly extracts a wire from the lining of her bag and uses that to reach the rope. She remembers Lucas' lessons on the maneuver, and successfully pulls it off. We also see Josh and his friends using the easier route to climb higher than Kelly and faster than her because she's restricting herself to the sheer side of the mountain so that the men can't get to her. Afterward, Kelly comes across an old tent and stops there for a break. Till then, Josh and the others have climbed to a ledge right above her, cutting off her route unless she wants to cross their path. Can you hear me? Josh throws her a rope and tells her to tie the camera to it, and they will let her go unharmed. But Kelly isn't an idiot. Instead, she ties a note to the rope, making Josh further enraged. Having no other choice, Kelly is forced to spend the night in the tent that she has found. She finds several items in the tent she pockets for further possible use. of her bag and uses them to reach the rope. She remembers Lucas' lessons on the maneuver and successfully pulls it off. Although her way up has been obstructed by Josh and the others, she at least gets a chance to rest and have some food. It's at this point where we get to know that a year ago, she and her boyfriend visited the same spot to climb the mountain. But unbeknownst to Kelly, her boyfriend is also planning something else. Her boyfriend surprises Kelly by proposing to her. However, this happy occasion is cut short when the guy loses his footing and falls. He doesn't survive the fall and leaves a distraught Kelly behind. Back to present. As Kelly settles in for the night, Josh fills up a bag with stones and throws it down. Luckily, Kelly manages to keep herself safe. Since it's cold outside, she climbs back into the tent. Later that night, Kelly is woken up by Zach, who rappels down to grab her. "You've got to know." He gets a hold of her, and Kelly grabs the knife she had found earlier and stabs him. This sends them both out of the tent and they both keep holding on to the rope for their dear life. Ray and Josh pulled them up, but when Josh gets to Kelly and takes her necklace, she extracts the knife from Zach and cuts the rope. Kelly is extremely lucky as she manages to grab the tent while falling down and perches on the mountain's face. Since the tent has fallen off the ledge, her only option now is to spend the night shivering in the cold. Kelly has managed to keep holding on to her bag which contains the camera, but Josh has gotten a hold of her necklace with the ring and from having her phone has figured everything out. Zach is now hurt and wants Josh to call for help, something which Ray agrees to. To placate them, Josh agrees and goes away to make a call. That night, when the three of them are sleeping, Zach turns to Ray and tells him that he suspects Josh to be lying. According to Zach, Josh hadn't made any calls, and he tells Ray that earlier when Josh had gone to the cabin to get his gloves, he had seen him coming out of the cabin, looking a little panicked. Zach suspects that Josh killed Taylor while he was inside because he doesn't want Taylor to call for help. Therefore, Zach and Ray plan on triggering the locator beacon from Josh's watch, but fail as Josh is revealed to be awake. He threatens them again and they all go to sleep. Later on, Zach, who was hurt on his leg, gets up to urinate. But then, Josh hits him on the head and pushes him down the cliff. Kelly witnesses this. Later on, Ray wakes up from his sleep and Josh lies to him about having sent Zach to Taylor. Ray then convinces Josh to send him to go speak with Kelly about the camera at her life and Josh does as he has asked. When Ray meets Kelly, he gives her his food and apologizes for what happened to her friend regarding the camera. He tells Kelly to give it to him and he'll tell Josh that he pushed her off the mountain, but instead, Kelly tells Ray that Josh has killed Zach and saw his body fall from the ledge. Ray doesn't believe her, so Kelly tells Ray that Josh kill them both no matter what happens. They then proceed as planned with Ray taking the camera off to Josh. When Josh checks the camera, he finds that the camera is missing the memory card. At the same time, Ray tries to call Taylor's phone, but to his surprise, he hears it ringing in Josh's pocket since Josh has been caught off guard by the two of them. Proceed to attack one another. Unfortunately, Josh manages to beat Ray before setting him on fire and finishing him off. Now that all of his friends are dead, it's Kelly's turn. Meanwhile, Kelly looks around and sees that her knife is not far away, so she moves carefully to get it. Once she gets the knife, the sight of a snake provides her with an idea about what to do next. Josh gets ready to go down to attack Kelly himself, and when he confronts her, he demands to know the location of the memory card. Kelly tricks him by telling him that the card is in her bag inside a crevice. Josh is prompted to put his hand inside and as soon as he does, his hand is bitten by a snake. He gets mad at Kelly's plan and starts to attack her. Kelly does her best to fight him off and in the end she has the upper hand. Because of this, Josh is forced to grab onto a rock and he starts to lose strength. Kelly is able to grab her necklace off of him, and she also pushes the button on his watch to summon assistance right away. And now it is Kelly's time to do the fatality move. Josh eventually loses his grip and falls to his death. Kelly is relieved that her nightmare is over and that she still has her ring in her hand, along with all the evidence. In the end, we see Kelly continuing her climb up to the top. She completes the climb she had set out to do with Luca, and as the sun rises we hear the sounds of a helicopter in the distance. And this is where the movie ends. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.